Hi, my name is Frank Schaefer. More than 4 years ago, I made a video that I think I titled, "Let Me Explain the Donald to You." And people watched it. Actually, it had millions of downloads all over the world. People wanted to know who this Donald Trump guy was. But I was taking his candidacy seriously. That's because I grew up in the evangelical religious right in the 1970s and 80s as the nepotistic sidekick of my father, Francis Schaefer, who was a well-known evangelist. We were touring the country, basically founding the evangelical wing of the pro-life movement. I tracked with evangelicals ever since then. I was on the 700 Club with Pat Robertson many times. I got a personal note from Ronald Reagan when my dad died. I knew the Bush family. I have handwritten letters from Barbara Bush, etc., etc. I was part of the foundation of the religious right. People like Ralph Reed, who organized the religious right these days, got into what he was doing because he read an impassioned screed of mine called A Time for Anger, and a book by my father calling for the violent overthrow of the United States government based on Roe v. Wade and abortion called A Christian Manifesto. Fast forward to today, when I feel tremendous personal culpability, having been part of the religious right that I left in the early 1990s to become a much more liberal, open-minded person who's voted Democrat since then. But I feel culpability for what we did. And when you look at the present situation, what I can't believe, since I come from that evangelical Christian background, is that people who still believe the things that I believed back in the 70s and 80s are continuing to shill for and enable Donald Trump. And I would speak to them directly and say, do you realize how far you have moved? You are the folks that support Second Amendment solutions, and you carry guns or you have guns in your home to defend against government tyranny. What about people from ICE and the Border Patrol and Homeland Security being co-opted by Trump to become a secret police force, the likes of which the United States has never seen, where these cowards don't even wear their name tags, let alone insignia or rank? Listen, as the proud father of a U.S. Marine who fought twice in Afghanistan at the beginning of that war, and once in Iraq, I am not anti-military, but when I see people in military garb pointing guns at unarmed demonstrators and tear gassing them and clubbing them, breaking the hand of a Navy veteran, the kind of man who served with my son, because he went up to one of them and asked them about the oath they had taken to uphold the Constitution, something in me snaps. And right now, I'm very angry, and I hope you are too. But what boggles my mind is that there are any evangelical Christians out there who still support this fraud of a president. Think about what he has done. We are dying by the tens of thousands in this country because of his ineptitude. You say, how can you say that? The virus is not his fault. Oh, yes, it is at this point. Compare the United States population and percentages to other countries who also were slammed at the beginning by the virus, not knowing what they were dealing with, but then they learned and they changed and they did something. They had a program, not Trump. And now in Texas and other southern states where the governors have followed his lead, the pandemic is exploding again and is going to reinfect the whole country. Don't kid yourself. Nobody's going back to public school this autumn anywhere in the way Trump is talking about in terms of a return to normality. He has destroyed that chance. Other countries, yes, all over Europe, New Zealand, Australia, other places, sure, not here. The difference is Donald Trump and the Republicans who have believed his con artist lies. He cannot deal with this crisis. How many more must die? Look at what's happening in Portland and now exported in other cities, where he has deliberately stirred up and provoked more conflict and more violence so that he can get clips on Fox News saying, oh, look at what the left is doing and Antifa and all the rest of it. No. This is a police riot generated by Donald Trump. People wearing uniforms very similar to the one my son honorably wore to defend our country are now attacking Americans. Homeland Security that was established to defend our country against terror is clubbing people who go up and ask questions, including Vietnam vets and others, and gassing them. These are small men with chips on their shoulders. Who wants to grow up and become a border control agent, border patrol? Who wants to grow up and be co-opted into a nameless outfit with no honor and no insignia, clubbing and gassing other Americans? Trump has his fascist army. Do you know where he got them? From the people who found it was okay and they didn't resign when they were asked to cage children and separate families. There is a low current of fascist tyranny in this country, wearing uniforms. No, not everyone. My son is a Marine. There are policemen who are honorable. There are all kinds of people serving who are doing their job. But there is an undercurrent. People like Blackwater. These mercenaries who go in for the cash. Who so screwed up everything in Iraq. Related to Nancy DeVos's family. And Jay Van Andel and the people who started Amway. A pyramid scheme. Along with the DeVos. Rich DeVos, who was a friend of mine. I have a book signed by him sitting on my bookshelf when I was a right-wing scum myself. And these guys have now metastasized into a cancer that is destroying our country and providing fascist, lickspittle, jackbooted thugs in our communities who don't even dare show their name. They're so ashamed and paranoid about what they are doing. That is where he has brought us. So I would ask you people who voted for him, what the hell are we still doing supporting him? How many more Americans must die of COVID? How many innocent people beaten in their neighborhoods for protesting? It's far beyond Black Lives Matter now. It's a general uprising against the tyranny of an inept con artist president and his whole family. Do you know who Donald Trump was involved with in the 80s? In those buildings he was building in New York? The 5 families of the mob that Rudy Giuliani, who's now another sidekick of his, took down along with the FBI. Trump was in bed with those guys or you couldn't build buildings. He himself is a mobster. When he compliments Ms. Maxwell, this pedophile pimp, for Epstein, what do you think it means? It means that he knows she's got something on him too. He flew all the time in Epstein's Babe-mobile down to his island and partied with him. There are dozens of pictures out there of these swine with their arms around each other, looking into the camera surrounded by teenage girls. When is enough enough? Do you understand that COVID is spinning out of control? Do you know the next move Donald Trump will make? I will tell you exactly what it is, and I predicted what he would do 4 years ago, and I'm doing it again. Between now and the end of October, he will say he has found a vaccine that will cure everything, and it's on the way. Just give him a little more time. It's coming. There are millions of doses, and guess what? In November, after the election, it'll turn out to be either a fraud or untested or unreliable. It won't be what he says it's going to be. He will lie again to try to get reelected. He will have people clubbed in our cities to make footage for Fox News to spin as riots that need to be put down. And if I was an evangelical Christian right now who had voted for Trump on the basis of what I believe the gospel teaches in terms of integrity and honor, and on the basis of respect for our military, that should not be put in the service of this man, I would stand up and say, I will vote for Joe Biden. And I would ask you to do that. It's not too late to reconsider. How could you possibly have pictured how this would spin out at this point? My name is Frank Schaefer.